Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal, and this is another segment on the arts. I'm Bobby Pominville, and I'm your reporter for the arts, and I think I have a very interesting interview today with someone I've known for quite a while, Paul Ashwood. You would run into him a lot at the Phipps Center for the Arts, and I must say I'm there a fair amount myself, and I know we get along really well in spite of the fact that he's more into drama and I'm more into music, but then we cross over a little bit into other realms, don't we, Paul?
Yes, we do. Definitely.
So I want to welcome you to the show.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
And tell me, what are your main interests at the Phipps these days?
Well, I am on the Drama Council. I'm the coordinator for that, and that's been kind of keeping me busy with a lot of other meetings with the board and things like that, and just finished doing My Fair Lady. And I was one of Doolittle's drinking buddies, and went from being a Cockney to also being one of the aristocrats. Yeah, there. So I had some nice changes there, and it was fun to work with my family on that show as well.
And I've seen you in so many shows down there, and I've really enjoyed you.
Well, it's a nice little home away from home. You know, it's a nice environment and gives people a lot of opportunities to do things. And
it's a delightful place to be, and if you're in drama, and I hear you have some quite innovative ideas going on about a new play.
That's true. I'm actually working on a new play. It's going to be called Radio Days, and that's D-A-Z-E. I think that's how I'm going to feel when I get done with this show, but it's my first chance of directing. I've done a lot of other things behind the scenes, you know, basically on stage too, but it's my first shot at actually directing a show, and I think it's going to be fun. We're doing a Reader's Theater, and Reader's Theater is a type of play that you don't have to require memorization of lines, which is really nice. You don't have the time commitment. Instead of 3 to 4 months taken out of your life where the play is the thing at that point, we can take a shorter bit of time, maybe 2 weeks or so, to actually mount a play. So we have that opportunity, and it's the Reader's Theater is kind of a great concept because you can get a lot of people involved with the show, both on stage as well as backstage, and again, that time commitment really saves a lot of that time for people or so.
Well, and I would think that would be really enhancing for people that don't have time to spend memorizing lines.
Oh, definitely. You know, and we're just reading right from the script, and it's kind of like when you think of the old radio shows or so, when they're in their studios, they're just flipping the pages or letting them drop to the floor, and so they're just reading from the script. I mean, it does take a little bit of acting, those too. I mean, you're just not reading the words, you're reading with different maybe voices, different kind of inflections that you might be using or so. But that really helps, you know, people kind of get into that theater aspect of things.
Well, now, how is that going to work for the audience when they come? What are they going to see?
They're going to see people reading scripts, you know, basically.
And no scenery.
Well, we have a little bit of scenery.
Bit.
We're doing a minimal set, basically taking place in a radio studio.
Yeah.
So we will have on-air signs and applause signs. We'll use those a lot. And then we'll have chairs set up with old-fashioned microphones. So people will come up to the microphones, and we'll be talking as they read their scripts. And then we will also have one area where we'll have organs set up, and the organist, which is my son, Chris.
Well, you can tell us. It's Chris.
And
he's fantastic.
He is, yep, and he'll tell you that all the time, you know. But he's going to provide a lot of the suspense and some of the jingles, some of the radio commercials we're doing. And then on the other side of the set, we will have a table set up with all the sound effects. So we'll have, you know, shoes and clopping on the table, and doors opening and squeaking, and, you know, whistles and things like that. So we're really looking forward to, you know, creating that whole kind of 1930s, 1940s radio studio.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Now, is this just a little bit of a ripoff on Garrison Keillor?
Well, I don't think it's a ripoff on Garrison Keillor. I actually, I've enjoyed what Garrison has done in the past, and he is kind of an inspiration for doing shows like this, as far as doing radio.
Yes.
And I'm not, there's one Prairie Home Companion and that's it,
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is not only present a show, but more or less relive the radio days back then, and also, expanding our scope as far as getting more people coming into the FIPS, and not only seeing the show, but also being part of the FIPS.
Okay, now I'm starting to think about the length of it.
Yeah.
And where at the FIPS would you do this?
As far as the show is actually going to be in the Black Box Theater.
And that's perfect.
It's a very intimate space, and the audience is pretty much right on top of the actors, so there isn't much space there for people to have that wall, in between it. So it'll be very intimate, and I think it's a really good venue for that. See how it works out. But we've done Reader's Theater before in the Black Box. We did Inherit the Wind about 3 years ago, and that was done very, very well. And again, a good response of people coming through and seeing the show. Yeah.
So you're in the Black Box, and what are your vignettes going to be about? I mean, could we get into some of that?
Well, we have a lot of scripts are out there, and that's the tough part. It was trying to figure out which ones we want to do, and how we want to present them. I want to make sure that I get everybody that auditioned for the show involved and are doing some good parts, and big parts. It's tough. I could have gone with a larger cast too, but I needed to have it kind of contained. But we've got one show that we're doing. It's Oscar Wilde's Canterville Ghost. Ooh. And we've got probably about, I think, 14 people that are actually going to be involved in that production, which includes our sound effects people as well. And it's kind of a fun radio drama that was actually done back in the 30s. And so we're just kind of digging it back up and bringing it to life again. So that's one. It's kind of a dry humor. It's Oscar Wilde. He's kind of works with a lot of puns and things like that. And then we're looking at some selections from the Battling Bickersons or so. It was Francis Langford and Don Amici that used to do those, and he's pretty much famous for his snoring. So we're going to have to find a right person that can snore very well. I've got one that's Jack Benny. And that will probably involve a good 14 to 15 people in the cast. That'll be a large one. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a kind of a tough one because everybody knows who Jack Benny is.
Well, yes.
And we think of the persona of Jack Benny and all of his mannerisms or so, and we might try to capture that, but I also want the actors to kind of come into their own and see how they interpret the show itself. And it's a fun show. It's actually a takeoff on the Western High Noon that used to star Gary Cooper in it. And so,
yes.
And so that's going to be kind of a fun one. And then we've got ones like The Shadow. Oh. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men.
That is a classic.
Yep. It should, I think, really get a lot of people's attention on that one and bring back a lot of memories as well. Yeah. And there's a couple other ones that I'm kind of toying with. I'm just trying to see which ones will work best with the cast or so.
Right.
So, and then between each one of the shows, we're going to be doing old commercials.
Oh, that's great.
So, Babbo and Bromo-Seltzer and all those. Just having a really good time with that.
So neat.
So it'll be fun. And then one of the things I wanted to do, and it's as I was going through a lot of the different shows or so, you came across a lot of news programs and sports programs. And that was, when you think about it, that was the main form of communication during that time. And I found some Edward R. Murrow, basically reporting from England, from London, during the Battle of London was going on. And then also he went on a flight over Berlin when they bombed Berlin, and he reported back on this. And so I'm going to take one of those and put that right in the middle, just to kind of ground people into say, this is what happened during this time in our history or so.
Yes.
And so I think it'll be kind of fun to hear those. And it's interesting when you look at some of those reports, things haven't changed that much. You know,
Really?
It seems like there's some of the world conditions are so of it. There's still, you know,
Oh,
we've got
dear.
wars out there, but it was still kind of interesting to pull those out.
Well, everything you've talked about sounds so interesting. But now, you have chosen the actors already?
Yeah, we had auditions a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
We had 52 people show out, and that was
It's amazing.
it was really good. I mean, I've been in other auditions where we haven't had that many, and sometimes we have to call people on the phone to get them in or so.
Yeah.
And it was difficult. There's a lot of people I know because of, you know, past years working, you know, at the FIPS or so, and to make that decision to who stays and who doesn't, you know, it was agonizing. It really was.
And I
It's,
imagine you know some of these people
I
too.
probably knew about a good 80% of those
Oh,
people
I'm
or
sure
so.
of that, because
And
you worked with a lot of people at the FIPS.
and you know, and it's, you know, they're friends, you know, and so, but I wanted to make sure that I gave a lot of people opportunities that maybe haven't had, you know, that theater experience.
So now, are you saying that some of the actors are going to be acting in more than one of these vignettes?
It's very possible. We might have them, they might have a major role in one, and then they might have a minor role in another one or so.
Yeah.
So I want to keep people busy. You know, it's very difficult when you're sitting around and you're kind of waiting for a good half hour or so to be on stage, and it's great to have them involved that way. And I'm also using it as a educational aspect for theater too. For those that haven't done theater, they're going to be responsible for, you know, finding dialects and you know, how they're going to use their voices or so. They're also going to be, we're going to do some costuming.
Right.
So they'll be looking into our costume room and picking up period pieces or so. So they'll have a learning experience of that, and it's the educational aspect is really big for me too.
Now, do you think there's anybody in it that's really kind of a novice at acting? I mean, are you thinking they're all pretty experienced, or?
Well, with their auditions, they were really good. You know, that's why we picked them or so. And I think there are some that are novice that maybe they, you know, I saw quite a few people that have had acting lessons or had done theater maybe years ago, you know, 15, 20 years, or back in high school, and never had an opportunity to do this. And now it's time for me to go out and start, you know, doing a little acting. So that's kind of what was going on with when you start looking at those that audition process, you know, is seeing where those people are at and how can we get them involved. You know, that's kind of the mission of the FIPS, is to really get volunteers in and to really kind of embrace that volunteerism, but also giving people opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have in other places.
Well, that's wonderful, because I know there's a lot of play reading groups even in town.
Oh,
And I
yes,
imagine there's a lot of wannabes then
Yep.
there that would like to come and act but not have that huge commitment.
Right, you know, and it's tough because it takes you away from your family, and you could. I know that I've had, you know, mornings when I've gone to work, and boy, I've been pretty tired from a rehearsal that went to 11 o'clock at night or whatever. So this will make it a lot easier, and I think it'll make it friendly for people that say, hey, maybe I'm ready to make that next step after this one and do maybe a full show, you know.
Great.
That type of thing.
Now, are you the actual director?
I'm the actual director of the show. I am being assisted by Michelle Schwantes, who is also working with me. We basically, the reason we wanted to start directing too was that we wanted to do more directing at the FIPS. And this was one way for us to kind of get our foot in the door for the directing part. I didn't need to get my foot in the door for other things. But this will give us an opportunity to
Good,
do
because
that.
I see you taking that step very naturally.
Well, like I said, I've done just about everything there as far as
Your
theater.
experience has got to serve you well here.
So I'm trying to capitalize on that a little bit and see what comes up. Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Now, when are the performances?
Well, the performances are at the end of January, the last 2 weekends. It'll be January 20th, 21st, 22nd. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And also the 27th and 28th and 29th. And Sundays we are at matinees. It's at 2 o'clock.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you that, because
Yeah.
I know a lot of our patrons like that.
Yep, it's definitely matinees are becoming more and more popular with a lot of different people. You don't have to drive at night, you know, and that type of thing.
Yeah,
So
and who knows, in January,
Yeah.
that might be good.
Yep, exactly. Very good.
What's the timing then of the evening performances?
The evening performances are 7:30.
Okay.
So that's a Friday and Saturday at 7:30 or so.
And do we have a ticket cost?
The tickets, I believe, that I can't remember now. I'm thinking I got the other ones. I'd have to get back to you on them. I really can't remember. I should have had this one down.
No,
but
that's okay.
I know
was
it's not.
asking in
I know
case.
it's not the normal ticket price for the main stage theater. So those are
Okay.
usually around $22.
Yeah, I'm used to
thinking these-
22.
I think this is going to be like 14 to 16, someplace in that
Oh,
area.
wow.
So we're trying to make it more
Nice.
affordable for people to.
I think that's very nice.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a wonderful idea. When you first approached me, I was like, something new and different and exciting. And I think you will get a lot of people.
Yeah, it's the. I think the response has been really good. I mean, people I've talked to, were very, very interested in what that show was all about, and they would start asking me questions about it. So the interest is out there, and it's one of the things that Beth Reidenbach, who is on our drama council
Right.
and has done a lot of directing at the Phipps. We were talking about that last week. Is that this is really kind of a good way to get people involved. With the turnout that we had for auditions, it's like this is a no-brainer. We need to do more of this type of thing, and so we're kicking around ideas of different shows that we could do with the Readers Theater.
Yes.
Because I think the Phipps mission is not only putting on shows and doing productions like that, but it's also an education. People learn when they're at the Phipps. I know personally, I've been there for like 22 years or going on
Right.
23,
Yeah.
and the experiences that I've gotten there have been just fantastic, because you're working with so many different calibers of people, professionals to people are just volunteering for the first time, and it's just a great mix, And so to have a venue like this that would broaden that whole range of experience, I think is a great way of
Well,
doing
and
things.
I am very much in support of your drama offerings there, and I think there's a lot of things on the schedule, and this is just an extra offering.
Yes.
And I think it would serve us very well in January when it's probably a little less busy days.
That's one of the reasons why we did it in January, because it's kind of like the lull after all the hubbub about the holidays
Oh,
and things like
yes.
that.
Yes.
And this will just give people a nice, I think, break from the normal humdrum things of life, whatever, and just really kind of experience what it was like to be, a person back in the 30s and 40s and listening to the radio and using your imagination. And that's
Yes.
part of the deal too. When you start listening to radio, we do it even now, where we hear someone's voice on the radio, and then when we see them in person, they don't look anything like their voice. It's like we have all these other ideas about what they kind of look like, and that's the whole idea with radio too, is to really explore, the whole experience there of, voices and what this person might look like and how they would
yeah.
react to this or so. So it'll be, again, a good learning process, I think, for everybody.
Good.
As well as the audience, too, as well.
Really glad I had a chance to talk to you. Is there anything else you'd like to bring out to the audience?
Boy, all I can say is give it a shot. Come down and see the radio days. Check out other things that are at the Phipps. There's a lot of
right.
offerings there. The Phipps Center, I think, is a diamond in the rough out here in the western part of Wisconsin.
is.
And there's so many people that live in this area that still don't know about the Phipps, and sometimes we take that for
true.
granted,
It's true. I still run into people that have no idea.
Yeah, they say, well, what is that building? So where is that at? And it's like, well, this is what we do there. It says, no, really? Yeah, this is what we do. But yeah, we've got so many different events coming up, and it's a great place for family to see shows, to be involved in shows, and
wonderful.
that's what drives that whole center, is the volunteers that are out there. And they're,
Oh, I know it. And you do such a good job with that in your drama
well, thank you.
council and all that, because I know you've got many, many people involved.
Yep. Well, that's the whole idea.
And it's behind the scenes as well.
Yes.
And by the way, what's a little peek into spring at the Phipps in the drama? What's
Well,
going on
let's see.
there?
If I recall what's going on, it's the Miracle Worker.
Oh, right.
And that will be happening, I believe, in April.
Yes.
And yeah, that'll be a great show. It'll be a very, very good show.
Wow. That's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Has it ever been done?
It hasn't been done at the Phipps Center, no.
I didn't think so.
No, this is the first time we've done it.
Something new.
Yeah, it is new. Even though it's one of the old war horse plays that are out there, It's a great expose on Ann Sullivan and Helen Keller. It'll be, I think, a really good show.
And I think there's in February about sometime there's a high school.
The high school,
production.
yeah, and yeah, they have a production coming up in February, kind of like during their spring break
Right.
period.
I don't know what it is this year, but
I think I want to say Alice in Wonderland.
I think John Potter directs it.
John Potter has been directing those for the last, 10, 12 years or so.
And I think maybe Andy Hayes is doing the music part.
Andy usually works with John on that.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
And I can't remember who the choreographer, I don't know if it's Christine Linnaeus or not, but
that's always a fun offering
that is
too
a
in
great,
February.
yes, and it's a great opportunity for the high school kids to be involved there, and
Yes,
it gets
it
the
is.
parents involved. That's one of the things that if you have a kid in that show, you're going to be
right.
involved backstage for sure.
Right, and there's so many kids that got their start there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just wonderful.
Well,
because
all 5 of my kids have been through there. They've done everything
Well, I
on
know.
stage there. So
I know that, and
it's
I'm
been
thinking about people who are still into drama and
Yeah.
productions in different areas, and I suppose in the cities and other places.
Sure. No, there's a lot of people that have gone through there that have gone on to.
And it's very commendable.
Yes, for sure.
Well, thank you very much for coming today. And I hope our audience will try out this new feature on play reading. And remember, the dates are January 20, 21, 22, and then the following weekend, 27, 28, 29. And be sure you call the Phipps and get some tickets, and I think it'll be a delightful time spent there. And I thank Paul again for coming today to tell us about it.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Hope you enjoyed the show today. Thank you.